and welcome to the next episode of the TCG Summit podcast. My name is Chris, and I chair the TCG Summit, the leading international conference for electrical retail. Every first and third Tuesday of the month, we bring key insights and discussions from this year's TCG Summit in Copenhagen directly to you, our TCG community. Today's episode connects some of the biggest pressure points shaping consumer tech right now. The AI boom, the ongoing geopolitical uncertainty around the Strait of Hormuz, rising cost pressure, and the question of what all this means for product availability, specifications, and pricing. We will look at why consumer tech prices may be artificially inflated, why laptop manufacturers could be forced to de-spec their products, and why retailers may need to turn their physical stores into something much more powerful, advanced, hyper-connected trust hubs. Because in a world of volatility, complexity, and AI-driven change, trust may become one of the strongest competitive advantages in electrical retail. Let's get started.
In the next 6 months, the memory inside that everyday laptop you use for work, well, it's expected to jump in price by up to 500%.
Right. We're talking about a market where a standard $40 memory component is suddenly, going to cost $200.
Which is just wild. And the reason isn't general inflation, and it's not a simple supply chain hiccup, is because your laptop is actively losing a manufacturing war against artificial intelligence.
It fundamentally rewrites the economics of consumer technology.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host.
Ben, I'm your resident tech and retail analyst. Glad to be here.
Today, our mission is to explore a fascinating expert panel discussion featuring leaders from Qualcomm, retail giant Consovolos, and retail tech company Vusion Group. We're digging into insights from Nevin Francis, George Antonakakis, Stuart Blanche, and Tangela Faller.
Yeah, and the overarching theme from their discussion is that extreme market volatility is just the new baseline now. The days of a comfortable 3 to 5 year business forecast, well, those are completely dead.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. Because that level of volatility doesn't just happen in a vacuum. I want to start with that 500% price spike we just mentioned. If I am looking at buying a standard mid-range PC right now, I'm probably budgeting, $600 to $800.
Yeah, that sounds about right for a standard machine.
But the data suggests that exact same machine is going to cost over $1,000 very soon. I mean, how is AI directly responsible for my regular laptop getting so much more expensive?
Well, it comes down to a zero-sum game on the manufacturing floor. You see, the AI boom requires hyperscalers, those massive companies building out gigantic data centers to train their models.
Right, the NVIDIAs of the world.
Exactly. And those data centers don't just use any old memory. They require a highly advanced architecture called high bandwidth memory, or HBM.
Okay, but memory is memory, isn't it? If the demand is that high, why don't the fabrication plants just, build more of it to satisfy both the AI companies and the consumer laptop market?
I wish it were that easy. But building high bandwidth memory isn't just about cranking up the dial on a machine. It involves a process called vertical stacking.
Vertical stacking, so like building upwards.
Yeah, instead of laying memory chips out flat next to a processor, HBM stacks them like a microscopic skyscraper.
Oh, wow.
And to make them communicate, manufacturers actually have to drill microscopic holes straight down through the silicon. It's a technique known as through-silicon vias.
That sounds incredibly delicate.
It is. It's an incredibly complex, delicate engineering process with much lower yield rates than standard memory.
So it's not just that they need more memory, it's that the memory they need takes exponentially more time and precision to build.
Exactly the issue. The manufacturing reality is what we call a 3x trade-off.
A 3x trade-off, what does that mean exactly?
So for every single wafer of high bandwidth memory a facility produces, they are effectively giving up the capacity to produce 3 wafers of general purpose memory.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the DDR or LPDDR that goes into your standard smartphone or PC.
That makes sense. It's like a restaurant owner realizing that building an elaborate, high-priced VIP booth takes up the floor space of 3 regular dining tables.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. But because that VIP booth, or in this case the HBM for NVIDIA and other hyperscalers, is so insanely profitable, The manufacturer happily tears out the regular tables. So if I'm just trying to buy a regular $600 laptop for work, am I the one paying the price for the AI boom?
You absolutely are. They are intentionally starving the consumer market of regular memory chips because the profit margins on AI memory are just too good to pass up.
Wow. That just seems like it would completely break the traditional retail model. If prices jump that dramatically, people aren't going to buy a new laptop just because it looks nice.
No, they aren't. It forces consumer tech into the category of a distress purchase.
A distress purchase. Meaning you only buy it when you're desperate.
Exactly. You buy it strictly because your old device caught fire or the hard drive died, and you literally have no other choice to get your work done.
That sounds awful for retailers. How are they even preparing for this?
Well, they are bracing for this by preparing to heavily push financing options for devices that used to be affordable out of pocket. Or they're going to have to start despeccing.
Despeccing, you mean they intentionally gut the machine?
Basically, yes. They strip out the nice-to-have features just to artificially push the price tag back down to something a normal human being can stomach.
So low-resolution screens, cheaper casing, less storage.
Precisely. You will be paying the same amount of money for a demonstrably worse piece of technology.
That is rough. But I guess because technology is becoming so painfully expensive for the average person, it naturally leads to human consumers becoming completely obsessed with finding the absolute best possible deal.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone is going to be hunting for bargains.
Which brings us to a massive downstream effect. AI isn't just dictating the price tag of our technology from the server side. It is about to fundamentally change who is actually doing the shopping on the consumer side.
Right. This is the paradigm shift that Nevin Francis highlighted so effectively in the panel. We are moving into the era of agentic AI.
Agentic AI. So we aren't just talking about a passive chatbot where you ask for a recipe for dinner.
Not at all. We are talking about AI as an active, autonomous agent that executes tasks on your behalf. It effectively replaces the smartphone screen as your primary interface with the digital world.
And the distinction that really stood out to me from the discussion was the decoupling of two words we have always used interchangeably: consumer and shopper.
Yes.
Historically, those were the exact same thing. You, the human, consume the product, so you are the one who goes to the store to shop for it.
What's fascinating here is how absolute that split is becoming. The consumer remains the human.
Okay, so we are still the ones experiencing the product.
Right. The human is emotional, prone to impulse, swayed by a beautifully designed interface, or driven by a sudden sense of urgency.
Sure, we are messy and human.
But the shopper is becoming the AI agent.
And the shopper doesn't care about a cool soundtrack on a TV commercial.
Not in the slightest. The AI algorithm is entirely objective. It doesn't browse a website the way you or I do.
Wait, if the human isn't doing this shopping anymore, how does a brand or store even survive? You can't tempt an algorithm with a flashy end cap display or an emotional marketing campaign, right?
No, you really can't. The AI hits back-end APIs. It reads machine-ready data-evaluating JSON files for exact dimensional requirements, scraping historical price trends, and comparing benchmark performance scores across 50 different databases in milliseconds.
That is wild to think about. It makes a ruthlessly logical purchasing choice based purely on the parameters set by the human consumer.
Exactly. It is the ultimate dilemma for modern retail executives. The answer is that you have to speak two entirely different languages simultaneously.
Because you still have the human setting the rules.
Right. To win the AI shopper, you have to be perfectly machine-readable. Your inventory data must be flawless, your pricing must be dynamically competitive in real time, and your spec sheets have to be instantly accessible to scraping agents.
And if your data is messy,
the AI simply filters you out. You don't even exist to it.
Wow. But the humans still have to tell the AI what to look for in the first place, right?
Yes. The human consumer sets the guardrails. You might tell your agent, hey, find me a new laptop under $1,000, but prefer brands that use recycled materials. Or brands that have a physical repair shop within 5 miles of my house.
Okay, so if a brand wants to be included in those guardrails, they have to build a profound emotional connection with the human.
Exactly. They have to cater to both the emotional human setting the parameters and the objective machine executing the buy.
Which brings us to how retailers are actually planning to build that connection. When you hear about agentic AI taking over the internet, the intuitive assumption is that the solution is purely digital. Better code, faster websites.
That would be the logical guess.
Right. But looking at the strategy coming from companies like Vusion Group on the panel, the twist is entirely counterintuitive. In the era of the AI shopper, physical brick-and-mortar stores are actually becoming more crucial than ever.
I know it sounds like a regression, but it comes down to a single, unhackable currency: brand trust.
Brand trust. Because you're handing over your wallet to a bot.
Precisely. Think about the immense leap of faith required for you to allow an algorithm to automatically spend hundreds or thousands of dollars from your bank account.
Yeah, I would be pretty nervous about that.
Consumers are going to demand an incredibly high baseline of trust. And an algorithm cannot give you a localized community presence or a hands-on demonstration or a human being to look you in the eye and guarantee your repair.
So what does this all mean for the architecture of a physical store? I walk in, and what is functionally different?
Well, the physical store transitions away from being a traditional box mover.
A box mover, like a place that just warehouses inventory for you to pick up.
Right. Instead, they become trust hubs. The primary goal of the square footage is to engineer added value through experiential retail and human service.
So it's about creating such a strong, positive physical interaction that the human consumer actively instructs their AI agent to prioritize that specific retailer.
That's the goal, yes.
But wait, if the store is focused on being this warm, fuzzy, human-centric trust hub, how does it simultaneously communicate with the cold, objective AI scraping the web for the best price?
That is the tricky part.
Right, because if my AI agent sees that the market price for a monitor just dropped 10% globally, but the physical store still has a paper tag saying it costs full price, the AI won't buy it.
And that is why the physical store is undergoing a massive technological upgrade behind the scenes. This is where Stuart Blanch's insights on connectivity really come into play.
Oh, from Qualcomm.
Yes. Historically, physical retail has been a black hole for real-time data. But now, stores are implementing advanced computer vision. They literally have cameras acting as edge computing nodes, tracking inventory down to the centimeter in real time.
And they pair that with electronic shelf labels, right?
Yes. Digital tags connected via high-speed, low-latency networks.
So the price tags are essentially digital screens.
Exactly. If an AI agent detects a global shift in market value, or if an algorithm determines that a specific product needs to move to clear inventory, the physical store can dynamically adjust its pricing in milliseconds.
Wow. So the price on the shelf changes automatically to match exactly what the AI shopper requires to trigger the purchase.
It does, instantly.
It is this incredibly wild, self-contained loop. You have autonomous AI agents negotiating with hyper-connected physical stores, which are constantly adjusting their digital pricing in real time, while simultaneously using their human staff to build emotional trust.
All to facilitate the purchase of technology that is artificially expensive because of the very AI making the purchase.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. None of this futuristic retail vision matters if we literally run out of the gas required to build the computer chips.
It all comes crashing down.
Which leads us to the final and definitely the most surprising vulnerability discussed by these industry leaders. We are looking at a major geopolitical supply chain bottleneck centered around the Strait of Hormuz.
And just to look at this strictly through the lens of economic and supply chain realities, the disruption of shipping lanes in that region is creating a cascading failure in semiconductor manufacturing.
Yeah, and when most people think of shipping disruptions in the Middle East or cargo ships having to divert thousands of miles out of the way to go entirely around the coast of South Africa, the immediate assumption is that we are talking about a bottleneck in oil.
Sure, that's the usual suspect.
But the hidden victim here isn't crude oil. It's helium.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, helium is arguably one of the most specialized, irreplaceable components in the modern technological world.
Which is wild because we just think of it as the gas inside party balloons.
Right, but roughly 17% of global helium usage is dedicated entirely to manufacturing semiconductors.
But why? I mean, I understand needing rare earth metals or silicon, but why is a gas so vital to making a computer chip?
It comes down to thermal conductivity and chemical stability. Semiconductor fabrication involves a process called plasma etching, where microscopic patterns are literally carved into silicon wafers using highly reactive plasma.
Okay, carving patterns with plasma. It sounds hot.
It is. It generates extreme localized heat. Helium is an inert gas, meaning it doesn't react with other chemicals, and it is incredibly efficient at transferring heat.
So it acts as a coolant?
Yes. It is pumped into the fabrication chambers to supercool the wafers and sweep away debris without chemically ruining the delicate silicon.
So without it, the chip just melts itself during production?
Exactly, or it becomes contaminated. But the critical mechanical challenge with helium is that it is highly perishable and incredibly difficult to contain.
Perishable. Like food.
Sort of. It is the second smallest element in the universe. It easily escapes through seals and microscopic imperfections in storage tanks. You cannot simply build a warehouse and stockpile a 10-year supply of helium. It evaporates.
Oh, wow. So the moment it is extracted from the ground, a ticking clock starts. It has to move from the facility to the semiconductor plant immediately.
Right. And here is where the bottleneck becomes a crisis. Qatar is responsible for producing roughly 30% of the world's entire helium supply.
That is a massive chunk of the global supply.
It is. And the primary route to get that gas to the global market is through the Strait of Hormuz. Because of the shipping disruptions, the route takes significantly longer.
And because the route takes longer, more of the perishable gas is lost in transit.
Exactly. As a direct result, the spot prices for helium have doubled virtually overnight.
100% price increase for a material you cannot manufacture chicks without. The stakes there are astronomical.
They really are.
The panel pointed out that a company could spend 5 years and $10 billion building a state-of-the-art semiconductor fabrication plant. It could have the best lithography machines in the world. But without a steady, uninterrupted supply of helium, that $10 billion facility is just an empty shell.
It cannot produce a single functioning wafer. And when an irreplaceable resource faces a global crunch, the market immediately moves into triage.
Triage, meaning they have to decide who lives and who dies, basically.
Right. There is a strict mathematical hierarchy for who actually gets their hands on the helium that does manage to make it through the supply chain.
I am genuinely curious about how that gets decided. Who sits at the top of that list, and who gets completely cut off first in a global helium shortage?
Well, the absolute top priority, universally, is the medical field. MRI machines require liquid helium to supercool their magnets to negative 269 degrees Celsius.
And without it, they just cannot function.
Right. Because it is life-saving technology, the medical industry is priority number one and is expected to remain 100% supplied.
Well, that is reassuring, at least.
Priority number two is the semiconductor industry, which is expected to remain about 95% supplied.
Because the global economy is entirely dependent on those chips.
Exactly. So they secure the vast majority of the remaining supply, even at double the cost.
But if medical and tech are taking up nearly everything, someone has to be at the bottom of the ladder.
Oh, definitely. If you are an industrial welder relying on helium as a shielding gas for specialized arc welding, or, if you are a retail supplier trying to fill up Mylar balloons for an 80th birthday party, you are entirely out of luck.
Wow, so no balloons.
Zero allocation. You are at the absolute bottom of the global priority list.
It is a brilliant, slightly terrifying illustration of how incredibly fragile this entire interconnected system really is. I mean, a shipping lane gets disrupted on one side of the planet, which delays a specialized leaky gas.
Yep.
That delay means a $10 billion fabrication plant on the other side of the world struggles to cool its plasma etchers.
Yeah.
That bottleneck limits chip production, which cascades down to make that new laptop you need for work cost hundreds of dollars more.
It really emphasizes that technology is not a digital absolute. It is still deeply bound by the physics of the physical world.
And the through line of all of this is just staggering. Our journey today started with hyperscalers buying up specialized memory to build AI, which artificially inflates consumer tech prices.
Right.
Because tech is so expensive, humans rely on agentic AI to act as objective shoppers to scrape the web for deals. That forces retailers to turn their physical stores into advanced, hyper-connected trust hubs just to appeal to the human guardrails.
Exactly.
And that entire beautiful vision of the future hangs on the fragile supply of a tiny, evaporating gas.
This raises an important question, though. We can map out the manufacturing constraints and the data streams of the AI shopper all day, but the ultimate wild card in this entire transition is human psychology.
Which brings me to a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Think about your own habits and the brands you love. Let's say you do hand over the reins to an AI shopping agent. You tell it you need a new phone, and you instruct it to be completely objective in balancing performance and cost. What happens when that algorithm scrapes the entire internet and consistently mathematically proves that the brand you have been emotionally loyal to your entire life is actually overcharging you for inferior specs?
That is going to be a harsh reality check.
What happens to your brand loyalty when the math exposes the premium you've been paying? Are you willing to hand over your trust entirely to the cold, hard data of the AI? Or will that human emotional connection, that subjective feeling of trust built over years, always pull you back to the familiar, even when your own algorithm tells you it's a bad deal.
That tension between machine logic and human emotion is going to define the next decade of consumerism.
It really is. It turns out that simple, predictable math equation of buying a piece of technology isn't so simple after all. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the rewiring of retail and tech. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the International TCG Summit podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found a few ideas worth taking with you. Our next podcast will be published on Tuesday in 2 weeks with more insights from this year's TCG Summit in Copenhagen. Until then, have a great rest of the week, stay curious, stay inspired, and we look forward to welcome you back next time. Bye!